All right, we should be live any second now. And there we go. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris, and this is my channel, Bar None 11970. As always, I want to take the time to thank you for listening to what I have to say, and hopefully, I will try and be the common sense of all these crazy things in this world, because this year alone has been an incredibly strange year and one full of division and hatred and, in my opinion, going in a backwards direction. So I'm going to give my point of view about something that just happened recently. And for those of you who care, it's 8:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 21st of December, 2016. And I'd like to say hello to everybody who are starting to come in. I hope you are enjoying your day. And there is a video out there that MTV made. Now, this is not the first of these types of videos out there. There have been BuzzFeed videos and all these others that just, I guess they do it for attention because people cannot be this ignorant. At least I don't, at least I hope they cannot be this ignorant in seeing what this is doing. And there is a video, and I'm not going to post a link because, I mean, if you want to Google it, you could search where it says MTV's Dear White Guys, because I'm not going to give them any more publicity than they actually deserve, because I think that's why a lot of these do this. But the problem is, if we don't discuss these things and allow this, I guess, reverse racism to continue, because that's basically what it boils down to, there's going to be a lot of consequences down the line. And we could see that, especially this younger generation, because if we've learned anything about youth, especially if you are no longer part of the youth community, and me being 46, I may be a kid at heart, but I am definitely not a kid anymore. The younger generations, we were always very impressionable, and we tend to just regurgitate everything that's being talked about. And with these buzzwords now, like mansplaining and all this ridiculous stuff, what I want to ask people is, because I'm not going to get into the hatred part. I'm not going to get into an argument, because I think that's one of the purposes of why they make these videos. They want to get an emotional response. And I've told people so many times, you have to be careful about the emotions, because it could be something that can easily trigger people, can easily get them to not think logically. So I want to try and be a voice of reason with something like this. This is another divide and conquer that is not going to bring us all closer together. This is something that it seems that people just will never grasp. You cannot try and inspire or motivate or change somebody by insulting them. You cannot go up to a person that you think is overweight and put them down and insult their weight, thinking it's going to motivate them. Now, it may motivate one or two, but the average person is not going to get motivation from negativity. So why people are still doing these same things is beyond me. Now, when it comes to racism, any racism is bad. When you are singling out any particular race, any particular religion, any lifestyle choice, whatever, and you basically categorize everybody in a section and you hate them just for their ideas or the color of their skin or what invisible god or goddesses or whatever they worship, we're going back to the Dark Ages, in my opinion. And using negativity to insult people is not going to say, oh, I think I'm going to change for the better now that I've seen these people and they said their nasty words and making their ridiculous comments. Now, I want to put some common sense into this. One of the things they talk about is white privilege, which they seem to think that if you are white, you are automatically, your world is a bed of roses and everything's wonderful. Well, I wish I had some of this white privilege. I am the typical, what they would consider a white male. I mean, I am Irish, English, and Italian. If I was any whiter, I would be clear. But I don't see any of this privilege. And I've always been the type of person that I enjoyed the company of anyone if they are good company. I've never said, oh, well, I'm a friend of this person because they're Indian, or they're Mexican, or they're black, or they're gay. I just like somebody because they're a good person, and I don't like somebody if they're a bad person. How people lump these things into religions, and I mean, it comes to the point where how conditioned can people be? Now, one of the silly things they said in this thing, other than the white privilege thing, which, I wish I had some of that white privilege. I mean, I'm suffering and not emotionally, but financially, and I'm struggling because I've made sacrifices and I'm not willing to put myself further in debt by using credit cards and things like that to buy things that I don't need. Things are not handed to me on a silver platter. I've always had to work for everything I've gotten. So if my white skin is supposed to be helping me, it's doing a pretty bad job. But one of the things they talk about is the fact that, America was never that great unless you were white. And they were basically saying that white people have gotten away with everything and that, there are bad situations that happen, which is true. But if you go throughout history, can anyone explain to me any time in history where things have been a utopia, where there weren't murders and wars and famine and wealthy taking advantage of the poor and people being subjugated? What about, things like the Inquisition and all the things that the Roman Empire did? What about if you look at in Africa that there were tribes that would have wars with other tribes and give away the losers as slaves? There is more to this than just pointing out a certain particular group and saying this is the problem. And they're trying to make it, I guess they were trying to be funny. They get these paid actors that over dramatize things. And that's one of the things I'm getting so sick about YouTube now is everybody's a drama queen. Everybody's an overactor. Everybody's trying to put on their best show. This is the typical person right now. So bear with me. This is never me and it's just ridiculous, but this is they are. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this, and we're going to tell you something that's really going to blow your mind, but if you stay tuned and click on this particular button, we're going to show you guys the evil, corruption, and death that follows. All you have to do is stay tuned. And they'll have the clickbait videos, and they'll overact. It is so pathetic. What happened to real people? And I think that's one of the things that people like about my channel is I don't go into that BS. I am just real. What happened to real? It seems like YouTube is becoming this fantasy world where whatever realities of these people making these videos are, that's definitely not the typical reality. Because if you believe every dramatic thing you see on YouTube, you would expect to walk out of your house and see nothing but destruction and death and horror and Satan flying around on a broomstick with Mother Teresa, and it's just not that way. And the internet is being used for divide and conquer and hatred and division. And I've tried to tell people for years how easily they can infiltrate things, and you have to be careful about this because it's ultimately going to end up where they're going to have a justification for shutting down the internet or making it incredibly difficult to be able to be on it. And all it takes is enough of these type of ridiculous videos like you see on MTV or BuzzFeed or the Young Turks or any of these places that are trying to inspire your emotions to be full of hate and anger. The negative emotions are there to keep you grounded. It keeps you under control because if you are angry, you don't think clearly. You ever have an argument with somebody in your lifetime and you're so mad you say things that later on when you're able to stop and think and concentrate about what you said, you regretted? That's the difference. That is what is going on with these things. And that's why I will not post the link. And as far as I'm concerned, MTV should be ashamed of themselves. And it proves that this whole form of control and propaganda is widespread. But my thing is, just because it is widespread does not mean you have to be a part of it, that you have to agree with it, that you have to get emotionally involved in it. I can discuss this thing without wanting to hurt somebody else, because they do have a right to their point of view. I mean, if they want to hire a bunch of actors to be over the top ridiculous, saying the most ridiculous things, they have that right. But it's not going to make me hate the people that did it. I may not like the way they do things, but I'm not going to stop them. And until people understand or understand that everybody has the right to think in any way they want, and they have the right to believe in anything they want, and they have the right to see things in different perspectives all they want, as long as it doesn't infringe on the rights of others. Why are people these days so worried about what other people think about them? And that's one of the things my trolls could never understand, and they've tried for years to bring me down and attack me and hurt me. They do have the right to say it, but it's not going to influence me. At one point it did, but that was 5 years ago, where I shut down my channel based on it, because I didn't know any better back then, and I've grown a lot while they've stayed the same, saying the same ridiculous things. And until people understand that you don't have to agree with everything, you don't have to like everything, but you have no right to stop somebody else from their choice. I've had people hate me because they don't like my point of view. Well, my thing is, if you don't like my point of view, that's absolutely fine. But why connect with it? Why get yourself involved in it to the point where it makes you angry? And I've made this example many a time. I do not believe in the gay lifestyle, as an example. I would never be gay. I don't find it attractive. It's not my thing. I know plenty of people that are gay or bisexual. I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to stop them. But I don't have to like it or agree with it. And these days, people are so worried about what other people think about them. This whole transgender thing. If you want to be a transgender, remember it is by choice. Because when you're born, you're either a male or female. If you choose in your mind at some point to change that, or want to change that, you have that right. But worry about it for yourself. Stop worrying about what other people think, unless somebody's hurting you. That's why I could never condone somebody that hurts other people. You don't have to like everything. And in this world, we're trying to force people to be united. You cannot force people to do anything, because what do you tend to do when you are forced to do something? You tend to resist. The idea is to give people the freedom and the choice. And what's happening, especially this year, with videos like MTV and all these others, they're trying to force people to see things from their perspective. And you cannot get somebody out there preaching that they are better than anybody else, because how is that any different? And if you're going to select a specific race to insult or put down or ridicule, that is by definition racism. And unfortunately, what it does for the average person is makes them hate people more, makes more division. If you are a white person offended by what someone else says, what are you going to do? You're going to be defensive, and you'll probably hate other races even more. People don't understand what they're doing is more destructive. So either they don't know and they're ignorant, or they do know and they're instigating. And until we figure this out, we are going backwards, people. This year was the most embarrassing year for the human race I've ever seen in my 46 years of my life on this planet. And I've seen hatred. I've seen division. I've seen people not appreciate other people's lifestyles or choices. But they've always left them alone. And now everybody's marching in the streets and protesting and making videos saying, you have to like me. Why? Nobody has to like me, and that's one of the things I say about my trolls all the time. If they want to hate me, that's fine. And if they're dumb enough to keep coming back and listening to somebody that they hate, that shows their intelligence. Because I don't like my trolls. You know how many times I go on their videos to mock them, or make rude comments, or make videos insulting them? Zero. Because I don't waste my energy. And that is what I think in my opinion, those type of videos are trying to do. Getting the people that are on the edge, because what happens when you're financially struggling? You tend to be very stressed out. You tend to be over emotional. You tend to be very nippy at things. So those kind of videos are there to insult you. So King Macca says, what is MTV this video? It's called Dear White Guys. If you want to Google MTV's Dear White Guys, please feel free. I'm not going to post the link because I'm just not going to promote that kind of stuff. And it's basically there insulting white people, talking about white privilege and really saying, oh, this next year you really got to try better. And these are the type of people that scream racism. Racism is now universal. It's just beyond me. I am a person with a high school education. I don't have a master's degree at Harvard. I've never been to Yale or Princeton or Cornell or anywhere like that. But I can still get the basics that you should either love one another or avoid people you don't like if you cannot control yourself. If you are so angry that you have to express your hatred for others to the point where you have to make it known, that says more about you than it ever will the people you chastise and ridicule and hurt. And what videos like that are going to do is eventually going to make somebody so emotionally riled that they are going to physically go out and hurt someone. And then that is when the governments will step in and say, we need to regulate the internet because the people can't be controlled. And this is what's going to eventually happen if, provided we continue to go in the same direction. Now, I'm not telling anybody to go to MTV and bash them because two wrongs don't make a right. My protest for places like that is after this video, I never speak of them again. And even though I haven't watched anything from them in a long time, now I have no incentive to. So as far as I'm concerned, places like BuzzFeed and the MTV videos and any videos that do ridiculous things like this, I just avoid. And that's how you hurt them. Going to the video and posting your thumbs down or saying nasty things just makes them money. So that's one of the reasons why I am not going to post a link. I'm not going to promote hatred. And that's what it boils down to. Whether you get a bunch of people on a video trying to make themselves pretend to be funny and saying what they think are edgy things and saying the word of the day so it makes them feel important by talking like mansplaining and white privilege and all these things, you realize that you're going in the wrong direction. So if I could have anything for 2017, it wouldn't be for a specific group to supposedly get better. It's for the entire world to see that we are all human beings who are allowed to experience this earth in any way they seem fit, as long as they are not hurting other people. It should be that simple. Why are people making it so complicated? What do you think is going to be more fun? A puzzle that's easy to put together or a puzzle that's impossible to put together? It's sad, the hatred and the arrogance of so many people. You can think any way you want. You can be anything you want. You can believe in anything you want. And I may not agree with it. I may not even like it. But you have the right to do it, and I won't stop you. Why everybody else is always trying to say, I mean, you know how many times in comments I've had people say, oh, you need to do this, and you need to talk about this, and I don't think I had a person, I did my video about 3 weeks ago, about the Kennedy Space Shuttle explosion. And I was saying how I remember it, because it was instilled in my brain watching it 5,000 times it was in 10th grade during third period computer class. I remember it like it was yesterday. And I actually had somebody telling me on my channel saying you're thinking about it wrong. How does that person know what I'm thinking? And how dare they have such an attitude and the audacity to think they can tell me how I am thinking? But this is the world we live in now, where people feel the need to come in and correct people or insult people. just for fun or for to make themselves feel better, or maybe they get paid to do it. And if you think that is going to bring this world closer to unity, then you don't get it. And it's disappointing. So if I would wish for anything for 2017, it would be that we actually get a clue and we mind our own business and help people and not care about their beliefs as long as it's not destructive of other people. If you want to worship a cabbage, by all means. If you want to have sex with a tree, have fun. If you want to believe in space aliens coming out of rocks, that's wonderful. You have that right. What you don't have the right to do is telling other people how to live, how to think, how to feel, what to believe in. That your perspective, you can have 100 people look at the same exact thing and have 100 different perspectives. Just because it's different does not mean it's wrong. So why are people always trying to tell others they are wrong? Especially when it's their opinion or their perspective. And I've shown this before. If you take the cardboard tube from toilet paper and you took the round part of that tube and you put a light to it, it will show a shadow image of a circle. And if you elongate and show the image from the long section of the tube, it will show an image of a rectangle. Now, if one person saw the image of a circle and the other person saw the image of the rectangle, they are both right. They're just seeing it from a different perspective. Why is this so difficult to grasp? So if the person that sees the rectangle doesn't see the circle, you should say, oh, okay, that's just another choice. You see it differently. Instead, today's people want to say, oh, you're crazy or you're stupid. What are you, blind? How do you see a circle when it's clearly a rectangle? Instead of them saying, there are different perspectives. There are different angles. I should allow that person to see and believe whatever they believe in, because is it hurting you? So I am pretty much banning almost every single type of mainstream media because I am not going to get educated from these kind of things. And you can hear in my voice, albeit passionate, it is real. It is not scripted. I'm not trying to make jokes that I wrote down to try and make myself appear to be somebody interesting. I want people to be interested in my words because they're true. Not because I wrote a perfect script that sounds great and I hire a bunch of actors to pretend to be funny and humans. We're not being civilized. We're not acting like humans. And it's our own faults because we can blame the media. We can blame the propaganda. We can blame whoever we want, but it's ultimately our decision. I don't care how many people tell me that jumping off a bridge is the best experience you'll ever have. If I'm dumb enough to make the choice to do it, I suffer the consequences, and it is nobody's fault but my own. So until people start taking responsibility for their own choices, and they start realizing, because you need real eyes to realize, that what we are doing is polluting and toxifying our humanity, this is going to get worse before it gets better. So if we want eventual war, we want eventual destruction, we're going in the right direction for that. So we can either pretend it's not there, we can continue to be led down the paths, or we can decide that it is our time to no longer put up with their nonsense, to no longer believe in their garbage. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, there's a reason why there's the word lie in believe. Think about that. So at this time, before my computer crashes on me, because as usual, they send a nice little error message, so it could be shut down at any moment. They don't like freedom. They don't like real speaking. Because I'm not famous. I'm not some millionaire with millions of dollars to make nice fancy videos that are 3 minutes long and, make you emotionally detached or attached. We got to start thinking better. I don't hate anybody. There are people I don't like, but I just avoid them. If we're going to continue going down this route, humanity's going to get what it deserves, and it will be our own fault. Stop pointing fingers and take responsibility for your choices and your decisions. You can get information from other people, but don't let it dictate how you live. And that is what the mainstream media and now the alternative media is trying to do. All they can do is try. They can't succeed unless you choose to do it. And that is volunteering your servitude. I refuse to do that, and I hope you will too. So as usual, thank you so much for hearing my point of view. If you appreciate my perspective, give your best attempt to give it a thumbs up. It probably won't work. If you don't like what I have to say, feel free to hit the thumbs down button. That's perfectly fine with me, as long as you're interacting. If you disagree, instead of insulting, let's hear your point of view. Make us understand or understand why you think differently. Yelling, screaming, insulting, making fun of people is never going to do anything that will help people. And that is the one thing about that video from MTV that none of those people will ever get. You don't help people by hurting them. For the few it helps, it destroys many. And if you destroy one person based on what you've said or done, you are not a good person. But that doesn't mean you can't change. So thank you very much for listening. Have a great day. And don't forget to have your trolls spayed or neutered, whether you agree with it or not.